Good day, students. My name is Miss L. N. Shifola Dama. I'm here to present Numeracy and Mathematics NM31 for the 2018 assignment-based. This is the assignment-based presentation for your 2018 assignments. We start immediately. I just want to start with some forewords. I've already, if I didn't, welcome to this study course of Numeracy and Mathematics 3. We wish you all the best in your studies. And when you are writing this assignment, I want to sincerely request that you use a blue or black ink pen to do your assignment. This assignment should be handwritten. All our mathematics assignments should be handwritten. Don't trouble yourself with typing, because I'm aware that some students will struggle, and this handwriting of assignments should only apply to mathematics and numeracy, or numeracy and mathematics. We continue. Use the mark allocation. For each question, I have indicated some marks. So you have to use that mark allocation as an indication of how much information you need to indicate and how much working. Actually, from my experience, whenever I ask, I want you to show all your calculations. Step by step, you have to show all your working. You need to be very motivated and on track with your study course. And in this way, you will be able to achieve the qualification that you are aiming for. I actually have to mention this. In the past, we at IOL have been very proud about our students who have been working hard, studying. They didn't just confine themselves to study guides. They went out of their way to find other teaching and learning resources, study resources, in order to do their assignments, and most of the assignments were of quality. We proceed with our presentation. In your assignment, you will find a question on how to work with numbers, whereby I asked you the multiples, probably the multiples of 2, of 3, of 4 as a mathematics, future mathematics teacher or a current mathematics teacher. You need to know the multiples, because how will you ask the learners in your class to learn the multiples if you yourself don't know them? We need to know them. Square numbers. When you hear of square numbers, what is that? Square numbers is when you multiply a number by itself. For example, if I have to write, if I'm having 1, if I multiply 1 by 1, in mathematics, in short, we write it as 1 squared. You multiply 1 by itself 2 times, and that answer is 1. What I'm getting here is square numbers. Then I take 2 times 2. In short, in mathematics, as mathematics teacher, is 2 squared, and the answer will be 4. I know my multiples by heart. So you should also know your multiples by heart. Calculators won't help you much. As a mathematics teacher, we should learn how to memorize. These are basics. If we don't memorize, how? The question is, how will we ask our learners to memorize what we are, the basics that we are teaching? Is equals to 9, and so on, up to, I know all mine, 12 times 12. In short, we write it what? 12 squared, or 12 to the power of 2. It depends on to which learners will you be explaining. That will give me what? 100. And please continue. You need to know the square numbers. You also need to know the multiples. And not the multiples, but the cube numbers. A cube number, now you get it when you multiply a number by itself 3 times. We were just multiplying the numbers 2 times, and if I'm having 1 times 1 times 1, in short, we write it 1 cubed, the answer will be 1, and then 2 times 2 times 2 students, in short, we write it 2 cubed, and the answer will be 8, and then you have to continue until 12 times 12 times 12, and in short, how do we write it, as I explained, and then what will be your cube numbers. You have to know the cube numbers by heart. Prime numbers. Prime numbers are numbers that only have got two divisors. What does that mean? Numbers that can only be divided by two numbers. Which numbers are those? 1 and the number itself. For example, if I have to use, so that we don't waste much papers, if I'm having 2, 2 is a prime number. Why? Because it can only be divided by 1 and 2 itself. What about 3? Yes, 3 is a prime number. Why? Because it can only be divided by 1 and 3 itself. The next one, 4 is not. 4 can be divided by 1 and 2 and 4. It's having 3 divisors. But 5 is a prime number because it can only be divided by 1 and 5 itself. Now we know what prime numbers are. It's a number that can be divided by two numbers only, 1 and itself. You also should know how to round off the numbers to the nearest 10, to the nearest 100, to the nearest 1,000. And sometimes I can ask you, or I have asked you, to round off the numbers to the nearest 10,000. We proceed. You should also use your guide to learn or to revise or to study data handling or statistics. It's also in your assignment, where I've asked you to calculate the mean. How do we calculate the mean? You add all the numbers together, you divide by how many numbers did you add together now. Sometimes I can ask you, or I've asked you, calculate the mode. I give you the list of numbers. Mode, here we want the numbers that is appearing more. The list of numbers, if you study that list of numbers, you will find that there are some numbers that are appearing more than the others. That is the mode. Then the word modes come from the word more. I also can ask you to calculate the median. The word median means the number that is in the middle. But now when you look at the list of numbers that I will give you, it will be mixed up. You have to, or you should, arrange the numbers in ascending order. Ascending order means from the small ones to the biggest number. Then you look for the number that is now in the middle. But now students, some of you get confused. If you find there are two numbers in the middle, you have to add those numbers and divide the answer by 2. Why by 2 and not 3? Because we have added two numbers. I can also ask you to calculate the range. What is the range in mathematics? The range is the difference between the biggest number and the smallest numbers. I can also ask you to draw a bar graph. You should know what a bar graph is. There are many examples in your study guide. You just need to go to consult with your study guide or to Google and see how to draw, learn how to draw a bar graph to represent the information shown. Sometimes I give you a frequency table, or I give you tally charts, and then you have to draw a bar graph. We proceed with statistics. On statistics, we also have got what we call measure or central tendency, and this is exactly what I have just been explaining now. I give you, for example, now I give you, on this slide, I gave you practical examples. I gave you a list of numbers: 13, 18, 13, 14, 13, 16, 14, 21, and 13 again. Study the numbers above. That's how the question will come. Study the numbers above and calculate the mean, mode, median, and the range. Now you know from the previous explanations I gave you. Mean, you add all the numbers together and you divide by what? For instance here, you divide by 9, because there are 9 numbers that you add together. Mode is the number that is appearing more. I can already tell in this case is 13. It's appearing many times. And then median, middle, you have to arrange the numbers from the small ones to the big number. And then we choose the number that is in the middle. That is the median. Range, we have to take the biggest number. In this case, the biggest number is 21. And the smallest number is 13. 21 minus 13 will give you the range. Okay, then there is also a question on sequence. Sequence, again, is a list of numbers. I give you the first 3 or 4 or 5 numbers and I say fill in. For example, the question will say, write down the next two terms. What are the terms? Terms, each number in that line is called a term. So I will give you a list of terms and two terms are missing. Now the question says what? Write down the next two terms in each of the following sequence. What is a sequence again? A list of numbers. What are terms? Each number is called a term in that sequence. So I gave you a 4, 8, 12, 16. I have to write this one. I gave you 4, 8, 12, and 16. Then I say fill in the next two terms. How will I know which are the next two terms? I have to see what happens to 4 in order to get 8. What have we done to 4 in order to get 8? Then I say we added 4 here. 4 plus 4, then we get this answer. What if I add a 4 here? Again, 8 plus. What if I add the 4 to the answer that I got? 8 plus 4 will give us 12, which means we have to add 4 each time. We add 4, 12 plus 4 is equals to 16. If I add 4, 16 plus 4 will give me 20. So my next term is 20. I add the 4 again, my next term is 24. Very good. Now we know how to get the next numbers. B, we are given 1, 4, 9, 16, 25. And the question said add the next two terms. Now I have to look at the numbers. What happened? What happens to 1 in order to get 4? Let me try first. I add 3. If I add 3 to 4, will I get 9? No. So we are not adding because we have to work with the same number always. Now I'm looking at these numbers 1, 4, 9, 16, 25. Aha. Ms. Shifula Dama told us to learn all types of numbers. I can immediately see that these are square numbers. 1 squared is 1. 2 squared is 4. 3 squared is 9. Yes, it's working. 4 squared is 16. 5 squared is 25. 6 squared will give me 36. I immediately write down the answer, the next term. 7 squared will give me 49. These are my two next terms. Let me ask you to try C by yourself. We proceed. There is also a question on BODMAS. What do we mean by BODMAS? Just have to use the same page. When we are talking of board, that is a D, BODMAS. BODMAS means B stands for brackets. Brackets. Okay. O stands for the word of. Okay. D stands for division. Division. It's working. M stands for multiplication. Multiplication. Addition. A stands for addition and S stands for subtraction. What does that mean now when they say use BODMAS? Which means the first one you have to see if there are brackets and then you calculate what is in brackets. Secondly, you see if there is a word off and you work it out. Step 3, you see if there is division in the sum that you will be given and you work it out. Number 4, you look if there is multiplication. If there is nothing, you go to the next letter. Number 5 and 6, you do addition and subtraction from left to right. What does that mean? Whatever comes first. Let's do some examples. Okay. It's working. We are moving. We are given some examples there. A, that we can try. 3 plus 7 multiplied by 2 minus 4. Now I have to write my word BODMAS here because that is the key. It will help me to do these calculations. Are the brackets here? Yes, I can see brackets. Where are they? Here are my brackets. Let's move. Step number 1. Other numbers that are not in brackets, I write them as they are. 3 plus 7 multiplied by 2 minus 4 is equals to negative 2. I'm done. Brackets are gone because I've worked them out. Now, brackets gone. Is there a word off in that line? No, I jump it. Is there division? No, I can't see division, I jump. Is there multiplication? Yes, I'm seeing where is multiplication? Here is my multiplication together with the two numbers that put multiplication in the middle. Step number 2, other numbers that are far from multiplication, I write them down. I have to do BODMAS means do things step by step. You work out one at a time, brackets, off, division, and so on. 7, positive 7 times negative 2 is equals to, let me rewrite it, 3. Positive times negative is negative. 7 times 2 is 14. So, my answer will be negative 11. Students, I trust when you practice, because in mathematics, practice makes perfect. You need to practice. Try B and C by yourself. We proceed. I also gave you a question on linear equations. And I can already tell you, you have to know how to solve linear equations, because there is no way in the examination that I cannot also ask about these linear equations. They are very important. Okay, I gave you some. I will just choose 2 or 3, then I will leave others to do by yourself. Okay, there are more examples in your study guide. Let's look at the first one. A, linear equations. 5x is equals to 6 plus 3x. What is linear equation? Linear equation is whereby you are given a line of number and then equals to sign in the middle. As you can see, there is an equals to sign in the middle. And when we do our calculations, the equals to sign should remain in the middle. Don't change it and take it somewhere. In linear equations, we say all the x or all the variables, the numbers which are accompanied by letters, should go to the left hand side, and the whole numbers remain on the right hand side. Okay, and when you take them to the left hand side, you have to change the sign. If you are bringing them to the right hand side, the whole numbers to the right hand side, you have to change the sign. If it was a positive sign, it have to become a negative. If it's a negative sign, it have to become a positive. Let's do that. 3 have to move to the left hand side. Why? Because all the numbers with the letters have to move. 5x, can you see I just shifted 5 a bit so that 5 can give a chance to 3 to fit in, because my equals to sign have to be in the middle and under each other. 3x is now a positive. When it comes to the left hand side, it have to becomes a negative. 6 remains there because all the whole numbers, as I said, have to remain on the right hand side. Okay, 5x minus 3x is equals to 2x is equals to x is equals to 6. The equals to sign in the middle under each other. It's just the way how we do mathematics, because then it will looks neat. Then how can I get, what does the linear equation asking us? We have to solve x. What does it mean? We want to solve x. Yes, let me put this one in a beautiful cloud. That's what we are aiming for, to solve x, because we don't know what is x. Okay, then how can we solve x? X is now together with 2. What is 2 doing? Is multiplying. To get rid of it, we divide. You just don't do it on one side, because the equation need to balance. What you do on one side, on the left hand side, you should also do on the right hand side. But then the question will come and say, why didn't we also minus 3 this side? If you do the same, because some books, that's how they are explaining it, you will get the same answer. 2 goes into itself 1, or we say they cancel each other. Therefore, x is equals to 3. Where did I get 3? 6 divided by 2 is 3. Now we got the value of x. We are happy. Now we want to see, just to quickly check if what we are doing is correct. When I want to check, I start with what was given to me here. 5x plus 6. 5x is equals to 6 plus 3x. Now we know the value of x. What is x? X is equals to 3. Wherever I see x here, now I put a 3. 5. X is no more x. Now I know the value of x is equals to 6 plus 3. What is the value of x? Is 3. Yes. 5 times 3 is 15. Yes. 6 plus 9, because 3 times 3 is 9. 15 is equals to 15. My equations have balance. This is just to check. In your assignment, you don't need to show that. It's just to check that what I'm doing is true and correct. Mathematics is very wonderful. We can also prove that what we are doing is true and correct. Sometimes sweet. Okay, let me quickly do D, because many of you are afraid of fractions. 3 over 4 y is equals to 6. Okay, the problem is, as I said, first it's fractions. I want to get rid of this 4. 4 is there dividing. To get rid of it, I have to multiply. I multiply this side by 4. I also multiply this side by 4. With equations, what you do on one side, you do on the other side as well. Well, that means this 4 and this 4 will cancel. I'm only left with 3y. 3y is equals to 6 times 4 is 24. I don't want the value of 3y. I want the value of y only. We are solving for y. How can I get rid of that 3 that is accompanying y? I divide. What I do on one side, I do on the other side. I divide this side as well. 3 and 3 cancel. Then we write with a pen. Y is equals to 8. Because 24 divided by 3 is 8. Now I know the value of y. And if you want, you can quickly check just the same as I showed you. Due to time, let's proceed. You will try others by yourself. There is also a question on factorization of algebraic expression. What does that mean? That means take out the common factor. Okay, let me draw a line here and quickly show you how we got the answer. 3a plus 6y is equals to, which number can we think of that can divide in this term and it can also divide in this term at the same time without a remainder? Is it 2? 2 cannot divide in 3, but 2 can divide in 6. But we want the number that can divide in both numbers without a remainder. 3? Yes. 3 can divide in this term, 3 can also divide in this term, which means we are taking out, 3 is our common factor. We take it out and we open the brackets. 3 divided into 3a, we are only remaining with a because 3 and 3 cancel. 3 divided into 6, our sign have to come down. 3 goes into 6 2 times. Y. That is your final answer. Factorization questions carry 2 marks. 1 mark for taking out the common factor, 1 mark for whatever is in brackets. I have just shown you and I've calculated what I've given you a 2 factorize Roman 1, 2, 3. Just try it by yourself. Sometimes you can call me if you get stuck. Always at your disposal, always reachable on my contact detail, which I will give you towards the end. Changing the subject of the formula, it's self-explanatory in your study guide. Please go through. I gave you some examples and then some practicals to do or exercises to do on your own. Okay, there's also a question on ratio, rates, and proportion. The examples, I can ask you to divide 200 in the ratio of 3 to 2. Quickly have to, because in the past, these are some of the questions that are troubling us, that have been troubling us. We are given what? 200, probably is 200 sweets or $200. We have to divide in the ratio of 3 to 2. This is our ratio. This is the number that we have to divide. Good. Now, which means we have to divide it into two parts, because the ratio carries two numbers. Firstly, you take 3 out of this 3 now. Out of what? Out of 5. Where did I get 5? 3 is a numerator. 5, I add my ratios together. I say 3 plus 2 is equals to 5. Then I multiply by the number that we have to divide. Yes, out of 1. Where did we get 1? Because we are having a fraction here, we are just trying to create a fraction with 200. Because any number divided by 1 doesn't change. Okay, step number 2. Now we cross multiply. 5 goes into itself 1. 5 goes in here 40 times. Now our new numbers are 3 over 1 multiplied by 40 over 1. 3 times 40 is 120. 1 times 1 is 1. Any number out of 1 is that number. So my first answer is 120. Those are the 3 parts of the 200. Let me see the 2 parts. 2 parts out of 5 parts. Where did I get 5 again? Because I added 2 is this one, but to get the denominator, I add my 2 ratios. Multiply by the number that we are given, which is 200, and then we do the same. 5 goes into itself 1, 5 goes in here 40 times. And then the next step, we are having 2 over 1, because 5 was cancelled. And then here our new number is 40 over 1. 2 times 40 is equals to 80. 1 times 1, we are multiplying a numerator and a numerator and a denominator and a denominator, is equals to 1. 80 over 1 is 80, which means 3 parts of 200 is 120. 3 parts of 200 is 120. 2 parts of 200 is 80. These 2 numbers, if you add them together, they will give you the 200. You've just divided the 200 in the given ratios. It's moving on well. B is another question that you can be given. I actually, here I didn't use the specific questions that I gave you in the assignment, because otherwise there will never be any reason why you should do your assignment. I've looked for other questions that are closely related to the ones that are in the assignment. So I also encourage you here to find your own examples and practice. I always tell my students, use the grade 8, 9, 10 textbooks. Any grade 8, grade 9 and grade 10 textbook, you will get more examples there where you can do your practicals. And I have to repeat this, in mathematics, the more you practice, the better. Okay, there will also be a question on transformation where I ask you about enlargement, reflection, rotation, translations. I have indicated page 82 to 89. I hope you all have got the same study guide. Find the examples on these topics and then you solve them. If you get stuck, I'm just a phone call away. Pythagoras theorem, again, is these slides are, or this presentation is self-explanatory. In Pythagoras, C is the longest side, which we call hypotenuse. If you find some textbooks, they will give you that the longest side in arithmetic is called the hypotenuse. A and B are the other 2 sides, shorter sides. That is how we calculate. A and B, we add them together, but squaring both of them, and we get the answer of the longest number, or of the longest side, pardon me, squared. And I've just shown you how I have calculated there. Find time, study this, investigate how it was done, and then you proceed. There will also be questions on how to calculate the area In this slide, I just gave you the formula of calculating the area of a square, of a rectangle, of a triangle, parallelogram, of a circle, and of a trapezium. This, if I say, or if there are questions asking you to calculate the area, these are the formulas that you have to use. Good. Now I also gave you some, now that you know the formulas that we can use, I gave you some questions to calculate the area of a given rectangle, of a circle, and of a triangle. There are also questions on bearing. Bearing is a three-figure, it's always given in the three-figure. Bearing is a measure of direction with north, which north should always be indicated. The bearing measured in degrees always and always and always. We go clockwise when we are measuring bearing from the north. We always start from the north going clockwise, and the bearing are always written in three figures. I just repeat that point because it's very important. I gave you some example to show when we say we go clockwise, what do we mean? There's an arrow here showing that we always start from the north line. If it's not there, you have to draw it with a pencil, and we go clockwise the way the clock goes, and we measure that direction. This other picture is just to show you how we measure 60 from north to point P is 60 degrees. The bearing of Q, where is Q? Q is here. There's no way we can move from north going anti-clockwise. No, we have to go clockwise, and we see it's 330 degrees. What do we use to measure bearing? We use some instrument. You need to know as a teacher which instrument do we use. Then we use some instrument. Let me leave it to you to find out how do we call that instrument in mathematics. You can find out from your friends. I understand you are in WhatsApp groups. Those are good platform to discuss some of these things. We can't give you everything at your age. Calculate the bearing. I gave you the diagram, and I ask you to calculate the bearing of B. Always start from the north going that side. Check some good examples in your study guide, dear students. There are also questions on trigonometry. Here you have to know the sides in trigonometry: hypotenuse, opposite, adjacent. Which one is hypotenuse? The longest. We already discussed that one when we were talking about, let me just go back, when we were talking about the Pythagoras theorem. Okay, so it's back into trigonometry. The three trigonometric ratio is sine, cosine, and tangent. That is how they are abbreviated. Sine, we say sin, cosine is cos, and tangent is tan. We label the sides in relations to the angle that we consider. The side opposite the right angle, as it's indicated on this picture, on this shape, the longest side of the triangle is called the hypotenuse. We can't emphasize more. The triangle or the diagram, which is PQ, is the hypotenuse, the longest one now. Okay, trigonometry, the opposite side, when we are given this angle, this is opposite. Adjacent is between the given angle and the 90-degree sign. You can see again on this other diagram, the hypotenuse is the longest. The hypotenuse is the longest side. Opposite is opposite the given angle, and the adjacent is the side between the given angle and the 90-degree sign. We proceed. I just gave you now the ratio opposite of a hypotenuse. Then we calculate sin. Sin is what? Opposite of a hypotenuse. There's an easier way to remember this. We have also, those ones who have done mathematics in grades 10, 11, and 12, we have got a way of remembering this. When we say sin, let me use the black color. When we say sin is opposite of a hypotenuse. Okay, cos is adjacent. We need to know this by heart. Adjacent over hypotenuse. I'm not looking anyway. I just know this by heart. And tan Tangent is equals to opposite over adjacent. Okay, what is the easier way for us to remember this now? That sin is opposite, because in the examination, whenever as a teacher you need to know them by heart. Okay, sin will always be sin. We just look at the first letter. First letter, first letter, first letter, and we came up with this, an acronym that people use. So, ka, toa. Yes, can you see that one? Yes. S for sin, OH, the first letter. Sin is opposite over hypotenuse. For cos, adjacent over hypotenuse. Adjacent over hypotenuse. 10, T for 10, and then it's opposite over adjacent. Opposite over adjacent. The word is what? So, ka, toa. It's all you need to know in order to remember. Again, so, ka, toa. I keep on asking people to keep on repeating. So, ka, toa. So, ka, toa. And you should just know it just the same as you know your friend's name. Okay. On that note, I just want to give you my contact number, and you have to write it down. My contact number is 081-24-29074. I repeat, my contact number, because it's very important, 081-24-29074. Students, sometimes you call me and I'm caught up in my full-time job and so on, or I'm busy in the meeting, attending some meetings. Most of the time, or all the time, I will tell you I will come back to you, or I will call you back. And then I will definitely call you back, because it's important that we discuss our mathematics whenever we got stuck, so that we don't get confused. On that note, I wish you all the best in doing your assignment, and I thank you.